So the other day, this video popped up in my feed and it had this title. These are the top 2 underrated factors killing your gains. It was a video by Menno Henselmans. And when I saw this video title, I had a number of thoughts right away. The number one thought was that I don't know what the top 2 underrated factors will be that are killing my gains, but I knew right away that one of them will be sleep. Sleep will have to be one of those underrated factors. Now, is that because I think that sleep is either underrated or it's one of the primary factors that if I get that wrong, it's going to kill my gains? No, it's mainly because A, Menno loves to talk about this, and B, because sleep is just one of those things that will be forever stuck with this marketing label, underrated. It's kind of like the superstar athlete who was once not talked about a lot, maybe undeservedly so, and then by the end of their career becomes an iconic figure and is widely considered to be one of the greatest of all time, but somehow the label underrated just remains to be synonymous with their names forever. Do I think that sleep is underrated? Well, if I tune into a fitness podcast of any kind, sleep is almost without fail mentioned among the top 3 or 4 most important factors for optimizing body composition. On the biggest YouTube channels talking about fitness, several will have 1 or more videos with several million views talking about sleep and nothing else. If I'm looking at Google Trends in the fitness category, sleep is actually outperforming keywords like protein, training to failure, training volume, or rep ranges. Some of the more prominent podcasts in the evidence-based fitness world had invited guests back to talk about sleep more times than for any other topic. And of course, now famously, some of the more prominent spokespeople in the fitness world had made comments such as,
"Sleep is more powerful than steroids, straight up."
So I might be behind the curve a little bit because I've been absent for a little while. But in 2025, is this what we call underrated? Because if so, man, if I could ever be considered so underrated in anything, in case that's not clear from my tone, no, I don't think that sleep is underrated. I think that it is in fact extremely highly rated by pretty much anyone who takes fitness seriously. And those people who do underrate it, they will also underrate things like training volume, failure proximity, exercise selection, because they are complete newcomers. Okay, with that out of the way, would I like to go fully controversial, flip the script, and say that sleep is overrated? A small part of me is inclined to say yes. Mainly because when I walk into a gym and I see a dude that is really jacked, I will think many things to myself. I might think this person is clearly a high-level lifter. Or I might think this person knows what he's doing. If they are really jacked, I might even think this person has elite genetics. Or God forbid, I might even think this person is taking steroids. What I have never thought when I saw a person like this, and what I will continue to not think, is, damn, this person must be getting really good sleep. There's also a reason why nettyornot.com is not "is he sleeping well or not.com. When I see a guy slaving away at the gym month after month and has nothing to show for it, my first thought is not, this person must have sleeping problems. You might say that I'm being facetious, but based on some of the claims of what sleep supposedly can and cannot do, that's kind of the standard that we are setting here. But let's put that aside, and let's assume for a second that even these standards would be realistic to set for sleep's benefits. I would still be inclined to say that sleep is getting too much attention, or at the very least, the wrong kind of attention. See, what's the number one thing that I will see and hear whenever I open a piece of content about sleep? Some long, gut-wrenching discussion over how my life will be in a million pieces if I don't sleep well. muscles not being built even though you lift heavy in the gym, and fat slabs not being melted away even though you diet hard is just the start. No, you can think of any area of your life and anything that was ever kind and meaningful to you. Well, here's the thing, dear viewer, you should not only say goodbye to those things, you better lean forward so that those things can spit you in the face before they fall apart. And forever. Are the benefits of getting good sleep and the downsides of not getting enough high quality sleep overstated? Yes. It's not really the topic of this video, but yes, they are overstated to the point where it became cool within the fitness industry to even make stuff up. And I don't mean vague claims like sleep is more powerful than steroids. No, I'm talking about infographics summarizing research and results where the infographic literally states something else than what the study said. And not just by a little. I'm talking about discrepancies like saying 80% instead of 30%. And it's not cool, and it wouldn't be cool even if this sort of stuff was helpful, which it isn't. Again, this is not the main point of this video, but I'm going to close this section by giving you a summary of what I think is a very fair takeaway from the research related to sleep as it pertains to your muscle building and fat loss goals. Sleep is going to make an impact on your recovery. If your recovery is better, you will build muscle and lose fat more effectively. It is one of several variables that impacts your results, just like protein intake, calorie intake, training volume, or failure proximity. Now, yes, of course, sleep is somewhat different from, say, training volume in that sleep is also essential for life. But please, don't come at me with things like, well, try getting zero sleep, you will die. Yeah, if you get zero oxygen, you will also die. If you get zero water, you will also die. Is oxygen more powerful than steroids then? Just stop it. You know what I mean. Sleep is no different than training volume in that it's a variable with high importance, and just like anything else, the more you mess it up, the more it's going to hinder you, and beyond a certain point, the more you optimize it, the less additional returns you will actually get. If your sleep is shitty, which unfortunately happens to a lot of people, it will be a hurdle. And just like it is the case with hurdles, when you're earlier in your training journey and you can still make a lot of gains, you will still make gains despite hurdles. Yes, it would be better if you got 8 hours of sleep and not 6 or 5, but you will still make gains even if you only get 5 or 6 hours. You might just get those gains slower. Again, I never thought to myself when I saw a scrawny guy that he was scrawny because he is not sleeping well. Because you can be sleeping badly and you should still be able to be not scrawny if you put in the work in the gym and you eat well. As you're approaching your ceiling, the more these hurdles will matter because the absolute amount of gains you can still make is already quite small to begin with. Take a guy who has been lifting for 15 plus years, has already built up an impressive physique, and is now mainly just sandbagging. Is that because he just reached his genetic potential? Maybe, but it could also be that at this point, the fact that he just became a dad recently, the fact that he just moved countries and got into a new job position, all of that created a lot of stress and his sleep went to shit. And that, in fact, became the bottleneck for him. That was actually enough to eliminate the little bit of progress that he still could have made. Yes, when the margins are that small between progress and no progress, a period of shitty sleep can actually literally be the deal breaker. Now, these are not the people that this whole sleep message is usually marketed to. So as far as I'm concerned, my point still stands and is valid. If anything, the role of sleep is overhyped, but at the very goddamn least, it is certainly not underrated. But let's ignore all that for a moment. Why do I think that the discourse around sleep is actually not helpful and is actually arguably doing more harm than good at this point? 3 words: sleep, performance, anxiety. Let's take a second to break down what actually has to happen in your brain for you to fall asleep. Falling asleep isn't like flicking a switch. It's more like a gradual process of disengaging from your thoughts, your surroundings, and your goals. Neurologically, it's about transitioning away from wakefulness promoting networks to sleep promoting ones. Wake promoting networks include the ones like the reticular activating system, and the sleep promoting ones include the super fancy things like the ventral lateral preoptic nucleus. Psychologically, it's even simpler. Your body basically needs to feel safe. Your brain needs to stop thinking that it has something to solve or something to fear right now. That's why people often fall asleep during boring lectures or movies, because their mind isn't under pressure. But if you try to fall asleep actively, it usually backfires. Because here's the thing, trying to fall asleep is a contradiction. It's something your brain lets happen when it no longer feels the need to do, fix, solve, or protect. The moment you turn it into a goal, something to achieve, you activate the very systems that delay it. You shift into problem-solving mode, and suddenly you're not safe, you're not relaxed, you're alert. And that alertness, even if it's mild, is exactly what keeps sleep at bay. There can even be a crueler twist. Sometimes just the awareness that you're drifting off can snap you right back awake. You're hovering in that light pre-dream state, and suddenly a thought creeps in. Oh my God, it's finally happening. That tiny spike of excitement or relief is enough to snap you right out of it. So now you're back at square one, only more alert, more frustrated, and a little more desperate than before. Repeat this cycle enough times, and falling asleep becomes a tense, high-stakes event. It's not rest anymore, it's performance. And that's exactly the problem. The paradox is that sleep works best when you're not trying to get it. Now enter the evidence-based fitness world, where strict men with strict tones are shouting, if you don't get 8 hours of sleep, your testosterone tanks, your gains vanish, and you basically age like 10 years overnight. This messaging, even if it's well-meaning, creates something called sleep performance anxiety, the fear that you must sleep well or you'll pay for it. And ironically, this sort of fear activates the very systems that prevent sleep. It raises arousal, keeps your mind racing, and pushes sleep further away. There's even a term for this, orthosomnia. It's when people, especially high performers, become so obsessed with optimizing sleep, tracking it, and hitting numbers that they end up sleeping worse. Some people even convince themselves that they didn't sleep at all, even though they did. That's called sleep state misperception, and it's been shown in studies. So this kind of content, the fear-mongering, the graphs that show how your body is disintegrating after one bad night, it doesn't help. It creates stress, or it at least has the potential to create stress, which ruins sleep even further. You might feel inclined to say that sometimes useful messages are going to be stressful, and we can't just sugarcoat reality so that people feel better about themselves. But when we are thinking about the very thing that we are putting out there for people to optimize their sleep, it's quite ironic if the thing itself is going to potentially hinder sleep even further. So look, I'm not saying sleep doesn't matter. If you're one of those guys who stays up until 4 a.m. every night gaming or scrolling, and you think it's fine because, bro, I hit my macros, I hit the gym, and that's all that matters, yeah, you should probably know that sleep does matter. It's not just recovery, it's a bunch of other things, which, you know what, I don't feel like I need to elaborate on, because you don't need a PhD to feel that being sleep deprived just sucks, right? Just think about how you feel like when you're sleep deprived versus when you're not. So yes, baseline awareness is good. For some people, it needs to be raised. But here's what we overlook. There's a fine line between raising awareness, and just scaring the shit out of people. At some point, we have to ask, who are we really helping with another infographic on how sleep deprivation ruins your life? Is it actually helping people sleep better? Most people already know how bad sleep deprivation feels. They've lived it. They don't need another cortisol graph. They need a solution. And maybe, just maybe, some people aren't staying up late because they don't care. Maybe they are procrastinating sleep because they are afraid of it. Afraid of lying there, failing to drift off again. Afraid of the war they fight every night with their own pillow. And that's not laziness, that's anxiety. So then, with all that said, how should we then talk about sleep? Again, by all means, tell people it's important. But let's spend way less time on why they need to sleep and way more time on how to actually do it better. Instead of terrifying them with Alzheimer's risk and testosterone decline, teach them how to downshift mentally before bed, build a wind down routine, make their bedrooms sleep-inducingly boring but pleasantly cold. And most importantly, stop turning sleep into another metric to obsess over and to stress over. Because the goal isn't to become a perfect sleeper, it's to stop fighting sleep. And ironically, the moment you stop obsessing over it, it's often the moment you actually start sleeping better. So I'm just going to say this. Sleep, of course, is important. If you currently struggle with sleep issues and you think that it's pointless to try to do something about that, don't think that. It is worth trying to improve your situation, and your life will see great improvements. If your name is SSD Abel, like a year ago or 8 months ago, and you're gaming 40 hours of the 24, it would probably benefit you to know, if you don't already, that you shouldn't be doing that. You should go to bed on time. But this whole approach that the industry seems so damn settled on, of just threatening people over the horrible consequences of what's gonna happen if you don't sleep well, this just needs to stop, because it's not helpful. It's completely counter to how the general psychology of sleep works and how stress works as well. It's counterproductive, and I'm sorry to say, but it's just extremely intellectually lazy. I'm still a fan of Menno, and I would say that he is still one of my very favorite Dutchmen in the world. But I will say that if I had to pick the Dutchman who actually helped me sleep better, it would not be him, but it would actually be the coach of the biggest rival of my favorite football team. And that's Arne Slot, or Arne Slot, because I'm regularly dozing off and falling asleep to this track here.
That we had some good results over there. Players and also people around us were positive about the way we played. Then when the other ones came back, had quite a long days off, they really bought into it immediately, because they also understood in 2 weeks' time we have to play Ipswich. So that the differences are not that big. So there are only small differences between Jürgen and me, and the general idea of how we want to play football is, I think, quite similar.
This is wonderful. This is actually putting me to sleep. You know who is also very good at putting me to sleep, if we are sticking to fitness examples? Børge Fagerli. Listen to this track.
So for my breakfast, I had 200 grams, so like 1 pound of ground meat. I had 4 eggs. I had a couple of apples and some blueberries and a handful of almonds. And then my lunch meal was like 2 pounds of meat, ribeye, some apples and blueberries. I also had some macadamia nuts in there.
I mean, this is absolutely wonderful. I created this ASMR track for myself with the combination of his snippets from an interview and some white noise. I made this back in 2018, and it still serves me to this day. You know what is not going to help me sleep well is listening to misery porn. How my life is going to fall apart if I don't fall asleep within the next 20 minutes. Thank you very much, but I need no misery porn. If I want porn, I have Angela White. So guys, that is my little ranty video for today. hope you took away something useful from this. Hopefully this will be one step towards revolutionizing the fitness industry, at least in this aspect, because goddammit, we can just do so much better than this. So that's all I had to say for today's video. For coaching, consultations, and all of that stuff, please check out the video description. Otherwise, please subscribe to this channel for more content like this. Like the video if you liked it, and let me know what you thought in the comment section. With that, I'll see you next time. Bye.